Hello, Somerset County. My name is Chris Edwards. Welcome into this edition of the Scoop podcast. I want to thank our sponsors for helping us put together season 2 of the Scoop podcast. I want to thank Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital Somerset, Unity Bank, and Techie Geek are not only our sponsor, but also the company to help put together the equipment we're using for this podcast. So I want to thank all three of them, and you'll be hearing more from them as we go through our series.
Welcome. This is Kevin from Printing and Promos Plus. Need print solutions that deliver? From business cards to banners, custom apparel, and promotional products. We have it all to make your business stand out. Contact Kevin at printingandpromosplus.com.
Today we have a really cool podcast because we get to put a spotlight on not only a cornerstone investor to the partnership, but a company that is headquartered here and has a lot of roots not only in the community, but with the partnership. I'm lucky to have one of our new board members, Shawn Lubitz, here. He's the Vice President of Retail Branches and Business Development with Affinity Federal Credit Union. Welcome to the podcast, Shawn.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's been really great as we've done so many things with Affinity over the years,
Sure.
and I think sometimes I take for granted how embedded into the community you are, but maybe for someone who's listening who's not familiar with the organization, why don't you talk a little about yourself, but also the company and a little bit of that history?
Yeah, happy to do it. I will say first, I love the fact that you and I kind of started at the same time, right? We
Yeah.
always go back. So you were with the partnership, it's been about 14
Yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah.
I started with Affinity about 14 years ago. Prior to Affinity, and I'll get back to more what I've done there, but prior to Affinity, I've been in banking for probably about 20 years, 21 years now.
I remember they would tell me to reach out to you for the young professionals. Like we were
Yes.
always
We
hey,
were.
we have one young guy on the team.
Yeah,
let's make him go to all the events.
At one point, I don't get those invites anymore.
me neither. Me neither.
But I started in banking out in Michigan. So I went to school out in Michigan for a few years. Worked at a very, very small community bank out there. Worked at kind of a regional bank as well. My roots are in New Jersey. My family's from New Jersey. So moved back here, worked for a larger commercial bank, and then had the opportunity to move over to Affinity, which is it has been my spot, right? So I've been here for 14 years. I love that I have the experience from kind of all the other aspects of
Right.
banking. So I have the large commercial banking, the very, very local community banking, and then the regional banking as well. All of that's played a part in kind of who I am with Affinity and kind of my expectations and what we've done. What I will say, though, being at Affinity for 14 years has been a blessing. So came over, I don't want to say by accident, but it was a couple calls that I thought were a scam or fraud at first, and I finally answered, and it's kind of been history from there. But started in the Hillsborough branch, so my roots really are here in Somerset County. Had the opportunity over the years to continue to move up, take on some a group of branches, and then finally overseeing all of our retail branches across New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, as well as now most recently our business area, so business development area. And I will say too, Affinity is, I think sometimes if you're not familiar with Affinity, you think, it's a smaller credit union.
Right.
It actually is in the top 2% of all credit unions as far as asset size. We're about $4.4 billion right now in assets, 21 branches across 3 states. And we're doing our thing. It's great.
Was Affinity, and I feel like I should know this, and as soon as you say it, I probably will. Was Affinity spun out of one of the larger companies in the area? Because I know that's a lot of origin stories for credit unions in Somerset County.
Yep. So we've been around. We're celebrating our 90th year this year in business. We really originated more so. We got larger from AT&T.
Okay.
So AT&T was really the large select employee group, is what we call them in the credit union industry. So we kind of stemmed from AT&T. You had to be an employee of AT&T in order to join. We've since grown from there. So we have thousands of select employee groups. We have areas within different pockets of each state that can join. And we have our own foundation now that you can join through as well. So we have about 235,000 members now at this point.
Wow.
So we've grown considerably over the last, I'll say 15, 20 years.
Well, that's why I always tell people is, being credit unions, especially ones that were kind of spun out of these larger companies, like there was a real benefit to the employees of those companies, right? To have, a lot of them back in the day, they had the branch right in the company, right? And so any employee now has, anyone who does business, lives in the area, has access to these credit union benefits that maybe, 20, 30, 40 years ago they didn't. Can you talk about, maybe some of those benefits of being a part of a credit union?
Sure.
And then, obviously what separates Affinity from the pack when it comes to those benefits?
Sure. And I'll say this too really quickly about AT&T. It's funny, you can see where they retire to, right? So a lot of our most engaged members now are in the Carolinas, Texas. So they're done with New Jersey, and now they've moved out. But being a part of a credit union. So first and foremost, the credit union's a not-for-profit organization versus a bank. There's advantages, obviously, tax advantages from a credit union from that standpoint. But really, what stood out to me is the true dedication from the top down that we want to do what's right by the member, right? So typically, you're looking at your shareholders, and you want to make sure that you're increasing the value for your shareholders. We are member-owned, so every member of the credit union is equal owner. It's a $5 share account. With that $5 share account, we truly are dedicated to making sure we're doing the best thing for them. And that's something, again, it's not just me saying it or someone saying it.
Right.
It really is in a lot of the conversations we have, all the way from our ELT down to our front line. It's how can we benefit the individuals that we serve? And then we've really expanded on that, I'll say, over the last 15 years to really incorporate community, right? So we're at a size now where we can have a pretty big impact within those communities that we do serve. So we're trying to do everything we can, not only to serve our membership, but also the communities that they're in.
Yeah, I think that's, and I've certainly seen it the last number of years that Affinity is really active, not only with us. I know the food bank. I'm sure we can name a ton of other organizations. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know for our our nonprofit members who are listening, Affinity's sponsored at least once a year. Sometimes we've done it twice a year. We've done breakfast at the headquarters and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about your impact in the community?
Sure. So we I think it was about 20 years ago, we started our own foundation. So we have our Affinity Foundation. They raise a tremendous amount of money over the course of the year. That money is given back via grants to local nonprofit partners within the community. One of the really cool things we do also is we do $500 one-time grants to members who are in need.
Wow.
And not a lot of organizations do that. So if, for instance, Chris, you were going through a tough time, you lost your job, whatever it might be, and you're like, I'm really struggling, and you give a call to Affinity, or you sit down with someone within a branch, and they can feel that you're struggling to pay bills or whatever, you just need a little bit of relief, we can do a one-time $500 grant to you. No repayment required. It is truly almost, I don't want to say a gift, but again, a grant to you just to help you out during those tough times. And one of the unique things that we do also is if by chance you went negative, there was a fee, there's something on your account. One, like first and foremost, we want to waive those fees. We're not trying to charge you a fee when you're going through it, but that $500 cannot be used to repay fees. It truly is for you to buy groceries, to pay a bill, whatever it might be. So we're trying to do everything we can to take that money, like I said, get it back to our members in the best way possible. And the foundation does a phenomenal job giving back to different grants within the community. And I will say, as an organization, we have a lot of people. So we have a lot of manpower we've put back into the community, whether it be volunteer hours, or we've gone and painted railings, we've painted buildings, we've served breakfast to veterans. We've done a lot. We pride ourselves on that.
No, and I think that's unbelievable. I think especially in the I always say the economy we're in, which to me is just uncertainty, right? It just feels like we used to have if we would have gone back 10 years and this is a good economy, this is a bad economy. Like the last few years has just been like, I don't know, like things feel bad, but the stock market's doing well. But long story short, it certainly feels sometimes in Somerset County, there's a perception of, well, it's a wealthy county, everyone can do well. And I think sometimes people don't realize like the cost of living here is so high that people are struggling even if they're in full-time employment, even if there's two people in the household working. And just to be able to have one of the changes I've seen is since the pandemic, people looking at their financial institution of choice and going like, I need more of a human touch. Like technology was great until like a crisis happens. And it's really great that you have that in place where people feel like they can, have that type of connectivity. And I think that kind of leads into my next question of like, that's where I've seen banking go is that there was a push up to the pandemic in terms of how do we make everything mobile friendly? How do we reduce the size of branches? How do we, adapt to a new future? And then I think the pandemic hits and people go, ooh, I want to have that local institution that knows me, knows my family, knows what I'm going through. Maybe I don't go into a branch anymore, but if I can call someone up, someone I know, that really is a big deal.
Yeah.
What have you seen, in your time, since it's the same time I've been through, and where do you think the future's going in the industry?
Yeah, I think so. You're spot on when you talk about digital, right? And for me to sit here and say digital is not going to continue to progress and people are going to continue to use it, it's going to evolve would be silly, right? So banking is going to become more and more digital, but there is still that need for the relationship, to your point. We've seen it in our branches, right? Transaction volume is not what it was even pre-COVID. And I anticipate that transaction volume, meaning basic withdrawals, deposits, transfers, is going to continue to slowly decline. But what we have seen is an increase in more of the involved interaction. So a membership application, loan applications, mortgage conversations, investment conversations. We've seen an increase in those types of interactions within our branches. So when I look at the future of branches, it's really making sure that our brand is out there. Being a good partner to those communities truly means having a footprint.
Yep.
You're not going to see the 5,000 square foot branch anymore, right?
Yep.
So we're going to have smaller branches, but more highly skilled individuals within those branches able to have more of those in-depth conversations. And then again, being there. So I think one of the things consumers want to see is even if they visit a branch once or twice a year, they like driving down the road and seeing it.
Yes.
They like seeing where they bank.
Yep.
And again, it's not for everybody. There are going to be people out there who want solely digital. That is absolutely okay.
Yep.
I will say our digital product set is fantastic. But really, we're going to pride ourselves on being in the community and making sure that you have a face with a name, right?
Yeah.
So when you think of Affinity, you think of Shawn. You think of John Benedict,
Right.
Flemington, you think Denise Wright in Hillsborough. So that's really what we're going to pride ourselves on.
Yeah, I feel like that puts so much pressure on the institution itself because it's like, I don't need you, but when I need you, I need you to be there in the moment, right? And so it's like, I'm not coming in often, don't expect to see me, but like that moment I need to open up the savings account for my kid, like I expect to walk in the door and someone's basically rolling out the red carpet. And I think it's an exciting opportunity, but also a little scary probably at the same time.
It's scary. What's going to be I don't want to say the most challenging, but the thing that we have worked on for a long time and are going to continue to work on is making sure that when you walk into the branch, you're being serviced, right? So the last thing I want is you to take time out of your day to drive to the branch, to walk in, sit down with someone, and then it's something we have to get back to you on or we can't do on the spot. So we're trying to create a lot of efficiencies within our branches to make sure that when you do come in, we have all the tools and resources we need to be successful in that interaction. And we continue, again, to serve you on the spot when you do take the time to visit us, because we know if that's not going to happen as often as it used to, we really want to make sure we get it right.
Yeah. No, I think it's certainly a brave new world where we're entering. And I totally agree with your assessment on a lot of times these branches for any type of company, it's not just banking. It's like they're more marketing. Just having that big logo on a highway is the most important thing versus the traffic you get in, because people want to know that it's right there.
Yeah, we're here. It builds that level of trust too in the relationship. And again, it would be hard in my mind. How can you really be a part of the community if you're not there? Right. So sponsoring is one thing, right? Putting money into a community is fantastic. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing at all, but also having people behind that sponsorship to build those relationships goes a really, really long way.
Absolutely. Well, let me get you out on this, because this is one of my favorite parts, and I always love torturing our guests over this. But as someone who's in the county all the time between the headquarters and your branch, do you have a favorite place in the county to eat?
Yeah, I will say, so getting out of headquarters is not the easiest thing every day, but 3 West is a restaurant, which is right around the corner from us. I love that place.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. Every time we go in there, typically we have a kind of a short window to go in and eat and sit down, and they're always amazing. The food is great. The people there are great. Can't say enough nice things about them.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. And when you're not in the bank, do you have a favorite recreational activity in Somerset County?
So one thing that always stands out to me in Somerset, I lived in Hillsborough with my wife when we had our first daughter. So girl dad, I have three girls. When we had our first daughter, we lived in an apartment in Hillsborough, and I don't know if there was even a name to the park, but just going for walks and being outside and all the little parks that are around, we were just right off of near the high school, just walking around and having a great time.
Yep.
Like the people are awesome. You feel super safe. It just brings back memories. So absolutely loved it.
I agree. And that brings back, my kids probably aren't too far off. My boys aren't too far off from your girls, but during the pandemic, right? Like everybody was going to the parks, and it was one of those things of like, oh my God, like thank God we have these. You take them for granted, right? Until so I think Somerset County, whether it's the county or municipal-owned parks, are just there's really no competition when it comes to a.
Agree, and there's so many of them. And again, like I said, you walk around, and it's just they're all so well kept up. The people are great. We truly we loved living in Hillsborough in the apartment. But 1-bedroom apartment, and now at the point of 3 girls, it's a little different, but definitely still have some roots here, which was a lot of fun having my daughter.
Well, there's never enough space, right? It doesn't matter how many bedrooms and bathrooms you have. There's just
not at all.
Never enough space. So, Shawn, let me get you out on this. Obviously, we'll have your information up on the screen on the website. But for those people who are listening via audio, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Sure. So I would say the most information you're going to get is go to our website, right? www.affinityfcu.com. There's going to be a ton of information on our branch locations, our products and services. That's where you can get the most information very quickly. But I would say we have 3 branches within Somerset County. We have one in Hillsborough, one in Bedminster, and our headquarters right in Basking Ridge. Would love for you to come down and chat with anybody within those branches. They're fantastic teams. And then finally, our call center. Our call center is really all around the state. We actually just had them in HQ the other day, all of them, which was awesome to see all their faces. But very, very well-versed group of people there and very knowledgeable. So many different channels to learn more about Affinity. And I encourage everybody to go out and check us out and see what we have to offer.
Awesome. And then maybe if you're listening to this podcast, just walk up to Shawn at the next networking event. And
Absolutely.
We joked in our first season of we should put like secret codes at the end and see how many people come up, but we haven't done that this year. Well, thank you so much, Shawn, for joining us for this edition of The Scoop. And till we upload again, Somerset County. Awesome. 19 minutes.
That was perfect, man.